My name is Gloria, and look, and I'd like to go by the full name is Gloria Evans McNair, and I'm the Chief Community Officer with Groundwork Jacksonville.
Are you from Jacksonville originally?
I am not. I'm originally from South Carolina,
Nice.
joined the Navy, traveled all over the world, and then chose Jacksonville as my home. So I've been here for a while now. It's my last duty station in the Navy, and so I've been here for about 20 years now, almost 20.
Wonderful. So growing up and maybe even in your travels in different places with the Navy, what was your relationship with water? With bodies of water, with the beach, swimming pools, learning to swim, and how has that impacted you physically, mentally, historically?
I saw the question first and I thought about it, and that answer is a little complex, and I think it may be for several blacks. Growing up in South Carolina, it was mixed feelings, because I remember as a young child, one of my classmates dying after swimming in the lake, and so it had all of the children a little bit nervous about water, although we loved the water. But even then, and I think we know that now, very few blacks this was in the late 60s, 70s, were not prone to be swimmers. But there was also that spiritual connection that I had to the water. I was baptized in a river, like old school, and that time of being baptized and that spirituality from back then still stays with me with the old Negro spirituals. I'm gonna lay down my burden down by the riverside. But it wasn't until I became older and adult, I realized the meanings of those songs, that there were messages in there for the enslaved people, where to meet for freedom. And so water also has that very spiritual connection, that sense of freedom. And that's, as an adult, my take on the water. I was a sailor for 22 years, so always around water, and I just feel refreshed and renewed, and there's hope there. I even have a retention pond behind my home that we call it our lakefront property because we've loaded it with fish, and there are often seabirds that show up in my backyard. And so water means life to me and rebirth.
Has your relationship with water changed or evolved at all as you've gotten older?
Like I said, it's always had a spiritual sense. So, and I think I'm still not a strong swimmer, but I feel more comfortable with it. And I think my relationship with water's just gotten stronger and stronger with each decade of life, to be quite honest, yes.
Great. In what ways do water and memory intertwine in your life or in your community? And then how do those influence your understanding of healing, of your history, of the sense of belonging?
I think I've kind of alluded to some of it already, talking about my childhood and the complicated relationship that many of us experienced with the water. But there's that spirituality, because I'm Southern Baptist, so there was always that spirituality there and that sense of healing. And I think it's even been strengthened more, that sense, by being here in Jacksonville and getting to know some of the residents around some of the neighborhoods that are adjacent to the Emerald Trail that we're building. Especially the folks in North Riverside. I've been working with them for some time, and we have a creek restoration that's taken place there. And to hear some of the stories about how they played in the creek, how they went fishing, and they loved it. And over the years, it has slowly become contaminated, and they were not able to enjoy it the way that they used to. And to be able to bring that back to the residents, they're looking at it now, and they see the meandering flow of the river, and they're reconnecting to those childhood memories. I hope I'm answering the question, but that just means the world to me as a person who's working on this project and working with the neighborhoods to make sure it's something that they enjoy and they love.
Yeah. I mean, your perspective is very unique because you have not only your history, but all of the stories of the community members that you get to interact with.
Yes.
Are there any other particular stories from them that stand out?
Well, for me, also for the residents of that neighborhood, it's not just water as a source of rebirth and healing and spirituality, it's also a source of food. They love fishing in several neighborhoods in Jacksonville, in the urban core, our traditional black and brown neighborhoods. They love fishing, so it's a source of food too, and community building. You go out fishing, it was like, everyone's showing what catch they got for that day, and it's like, no, mine is bigger. And it had become unsafe for them to do that. So it's a joy that, like I said, it's a joy to be bringing that back to the community. It may be a couple of years before they can fish safely, but it's coming.
It's coming. And
yes.
And they're a part of it.
Yes.
Yeah. So they're taking back some of that power.
Yes. Yes, they are.
How have you seen, either local or in other areas, communities, especially black communities, black neighborhoods, change over time in your experience?
Oh goodness, in my experience, unfortunately, there hasn't been a lot of change. Unfortunately, the communities that we're working with along the Emerald Trail, I'll say North Riverside, Robinson's Addition, Newtown, Durkeeville, the East Side, were victims of redlining and zoning practices. Is where you found the incinerators and the ash contamination. And there hasn't been a lot of change over the years. But now I'd like to say this, we have a group of nonprofits who are trying to work together to improve and amplify these neighborhoods. The residents who live there love it. They think it's beautiful, but they realize that there could be so many improvements, and we're working with them to try to make some of their dreams come true.
Yeah. What are some of their dreams? Have they shared that with
They
you?
have shared that a lot of the residents are afraid of being displaced because there's a new interest. Remember there was the flight out to the suburbs, but now is trending a return to the urban neighborhoods, and with that comes an element of gentrification that can lead to displacement. And so our residents want to be able to stay in their neighborhoods, to remain in their homes. And so that's why we address things like affordable housing, employment opportunities, so that they can remain in their neighborhoods and enjoy it and still be near that culture that they grew up with, loving, and not always being exactly what they wanted as far as opportunity, but to see opportunity grow now. Yes.
Yeah. That seems like a very simple and attainable dream.
Yes.
For them.
Yes, that's attainable. It's just, having the right people working with them to have their goals in mind. Not what we think, but what the residents think and what they want for their future. Yes, that's empowering to them. And in some cases, the first time they've had someone actually take that approach.
Sure. Yeah. And that has to feel wonderful for
yes.
them.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. We've been talking a little bit about this. Well, the exhibition that's coming to Jacksonville and to the museum centers on the Overtown neighborhood, which is in Miami. It's also a neighborhood, a black community that many of the residents were displaced when I-95 came in. They also at the time were relegated to go to only a certain beach and not to just any old beach, similar to experiences with black folks here in American Beach, having a special place for them. Tell us in your words how you think this exhibition relates to Jacksonville and Northeast Florida.
Well, you just said it with American Beach. I didn't grow up here, but my husband is from Georgia, so that would be a big trip for them. The whole family would come to Jacksonville and go to American Beach. And it still holds a lot of joy for them. They didn't think of segregation, I don't think, in a sense. It was all about family being together and enjoying being outdoors, being at the beach, frolicking. They would bring all of their barbecue equipment and stuff with them. And I guess not so much with Jacksonville because I didn't grow up here during that time, but I'm from South Carolina, inland South Carolina, but Myrtle Beach had some of the same type practices. There was a black beach and then there was a white beach. And that was just the opportunity. It was a big deal for my parents to gather up all of their stuff and head to the beach. And it was such a cultural thing where they would take their music and be able to be themselves. And I don't think they worried about the segregated aspect of it all.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like what you're saying. It sounds like it was a special place that they got to enjoy together.
Yes.
Without any questions, concerns from
Without
anybody else.
Right.
No interference.
No interference. You're there. You're with your family. You're with people who look like you, who may even think like you, have some of the same interests and culture, and just having a wonderful time, that freedom of it all. But now, when I go back, I'm going to say this, when I go back to Myrtle Beach now as an adult, it's still a wonderful experience, but it's not that cultural experience that it once was.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Understood. So thinking about the importance of all of the histories and stories that we've been talking about, how do you think we continuously educate and celebrate the history of people, the resilience, the beauty of people, the culture of Jacksonville and Northeast Florida's historic Black neighborhoods?
Oh, wow. We just have to continue to tell these stories. I know, like I said, I've met so many people in Jacksonville, some of the older folks, people who are in their 60s and older, and to keep sharing those stories with the youth. And sometimes our young people don't see the value of these stories, but it's their history. And they should understand how complicated, complex the relationship is sometimes, and we have to be honest about our past as well. But the Atlantic Ocean was not always something that we thought of fondly, because it was how our ancestors were brought to this country in an enslaved manner in some very brutal conditions, and we have a tendency to gloss over that now. Let's not gloss over it. We must tell the truth, but also think of how we also use this land to create our own, to have a culture that's uniquely based in our African ancestry, but also American in nature as well, how we build our own customs and keep telling those stories and keep generating those, and just keep loving the country, loving the ocean, loving this world. I don't know, it sounds corny, but that's how I feel.
That's great. I don't think it's corny at all.
Okay.
I think it's great.
Yes.
If you had to choose one word that kind of describes your response to what you've seen so far, what would that word be?
Oh my gosh, one word. Beautiful just doesn't say enough. The tranquility that I felt. Tranquility. Mm-hmm. Especially one, I think you heard me talk, she's in yellow, I forget the name of it, and it just speaks so much to me. It speaks springtime, it speaks Florida, and just being tranquil and out in nature. Yes, yeah. Tranquility.
That's a great word. Yeah, yeah, thank you for that. Is there anything that you feel like we didn't cover that you'd like to add?
I don't think so, because I feel as if I'm not from here, but I share the same culture. Yeah. Yes, I share the same culture as Floridians, especially folks in Jacksonville. There's so many people here in Jacksonville who their great grandparents came here because they were fleeing the traditional South. They were fleeing South Carolina, North Carolina, and Georgia, and coming to a place where there was opportunity. And so when you hear about the Gullah Geechee culture and South Carolinians, I feel a kindred spirit here, as if I grew up here. And so it's a wonderful place. And I just plan to stay in Jacksonville. It's where my kids grew up, and this is home.
Well, we're lucky to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're very happy
Thank
that you're
you.
here. And, I know everyone that you've interacted with through Groundwork Jacks and all the residents that you're helping along the way and giving them back their voice. It's really important work, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.